Hi, everyone. Pastor Brad from New Covenant United Church of Christ in Williamsport. And thank you for joining us for Storytime today. Today, we are reading the Dr. Seuss story, The Lorax. This week is the anniversary of Dr. Seuss, Theodore Geisel's birthday. Dr. Seuss, Theodore Geisel, was born on March 2nd, 1904. And so, in celebration of the anniversary of his birthday, we're going to read one of his most beloved stories, The Lorax. At the far end of town, where the grickle grass grows, and the wind smells slow and sour when it blows, and no birds ever sing excepting old crows, is the street of the lifted Lorax. And deep in the grickle grass, some people say, if you look deep enough, you can still see today where the Lorax once stood, just as long as it could, before somebody lifted the Lorax away. What was the Lorax? And why was it there? And why was it lifted and taken somewhere? From the far end of town where the grickle grass grows, the old onceler still lives here. Ask him, he knows. You won't see the onceler, don't knock at his door. He says in his lurkim on top of his store. He lurks in his lurkin, cold under the roof, where he makes his own clothes out of muffled moof. And on special dank midnights in August, he peeks out of the shutters, and sometimes he speaks and tells how the Lorax was lifted away. He'll tell you perhaps if you're willing to pay. On the end of a rope, he lets down a tin pail, and you have to toss in 15 cents and a nail, and the shell of a great 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 grandfather's snail. Then he pulls up the pail, makes a most careful count to see if you've paid him the proper amount. Then he hides what you paid him away in his snoove, his secret strange hole in his grooveless glove. Then he grums, I will call you by whisper my phone, for the secrets I tell are for your ears alone. Slurp. Down slurps the whisper muffone to your ear, and the old onceler's whispers are not very clear, since they have come down, though a snurgly hose, and he sounds as if he had smallish bees up his nose. Now I'll tell you, he says, with his teeth sounding gray, how the Lorax got lifted and taken away. It all started way back, such a long, long time back. Way back in the days when the grass was still green, and the pond was still wet, and the clouds were still clean, and the song of the swans rang out in spice. One morning I came to this glorious place, and I first saw the trees, the truffula trees, the bright colored troughs of the truffula trees, mile after mile in the fresh morning breeze. And under the trees, I saw brown barbaloots frisking about in their barbarous suits as they played in the shade of the truffula fruits. From Rippleless Pond came the comfortable sound of the humming fish humming while splashing around. But those trees, those truffula trees, all my life I'd been searching for trees such as these. The touch of their tufts was much softer than silk, and they had the sweet smell of fresh butterfly milk. I felt a great leaping of joy in my heart. I knew just what I'd do. I'd unloaded my cart. In no time at all, I had built a small shop. Then I chopped down a truffula tree with one chop, and with a great skillful skill, and with great speedy speed, I took the soft truff and I kindled a tree. The instant I'd finished, I heard a gazunk. I looked, I saw something pop out of the stump of the tree I'd chopped down. It was sort of a man. Describe him, that's hard. I don't know if I can. He was shortish and oldish and brownish and mossy, and he spoke with a voice that was sharpishly bossy. Mister, he said, with a sawdusty sneeze, I am the Lorax. I speak for the trees. I speak for the trees have no tongues, and I'm asking you, sir, at the top of my lungs. He was very upset as he shouted and puffed. What's that thing you've made out of my truffula tuft? Look, Lorax, I said, there's no cause for alarm. I chopped just one tree. I am doing no harm. I'm being quite useful. This thing is a fiend, needs a fine something that all people need. It's a shirt, it's a sock, it's a glove, it's a hat, but it has other uses. Yes, far beyond that. You can use it for carpets, for pillows, for sheets, or curtains, or covers, or bicycle seats. The Lorax said, Sir, you are crazy with greed. There is no one on earth who would buy that full need. But the very next minute, I proved he was wrong. For just at that minute, a clap came along, and he thought that the need I had knitted was great. He happily bought it for $3.98. I laughed at the Lorax. You poor stupid guy. You can never tell what some people will buy. I repeat, cried the Lorax, I speak for the trees. I'm busy, I told him. Shut up, if you please. I rushed across the room, and in no time at all, built a radio phone. I put in a quick call. I called all my brothers and uncles and aunts. I said, listen here, here's a wonderful chance for the whole Onceler family to get mighty rich. Get over here fast. Take the road to North Nitch. Turn left at Weehawken, sharp right at South Stitch. And in no time at all, the factory I built, the whole Onceler family was working full tilt. We were all knitting needs, just as busy as bees, to the sound of the chopping of truffula trees. Then, oh baby, oh, how's my business did grow. Now chopping one tree at a time was too slow, so I quickly invented a super axe hacker, which whacked off 4 truffula trees at one smacker. We were making needs 4 times as fast as before, and that Lorax, he didn't show up anymore. But the next week he knocked at my new office door. He snapped, I'm the Lorax who speaks for the trees, which you seem to be chopping as fast as you please. But I'm also in charge of the brown barbaloots, who played in the shade of their barbaloot suits, and happily lived eating truffula fruits. Now, thanks to your hacking my trees to the ground, there's not enough truffle of fruit to go round. And my poor barbaloots are all getting the crummies because they have gas and no food in their tummies. They loved living here, but I can't let them stay. They'll have to find food, and I hope that they may. Good luck, boys, he cried, and he sent them away. I, the Onceler, felt sad as I watched them all go. But business is business, and business must grow, regardless of crummies in tummies, you know. I meant no harm. I most truly did not. But I had to grow bigger, so bigger I got. I biggered my factory, I biggered my roads, I biggered my wagons, I biggered my loads. Of needs I shipped out, I was shipping them forth to the south, to the east, to the west, to the north. I went right on biggering, selling more needs, and I biggered my money, which everyone needs. Then again he came back. I was fixing some pipes when that old nuisance Lorax came back with more gripes. I am the Lorax, he coughed and he whiffed. He sneezed and he snuffled. He snargled, he sniffed. Onceler, he cried, with a cruffulous croak. Onceler, you're making such smogulous smoke. My poor swami swans, why they can't sing a note. No one can sing who has smog in their throat. And so, said the Lorax, please pardon my cough. They cannot live here, so I'm sending them off. Where will they go? I don't hopefully know. They will have to fly for a month or a year to escape from the smog you've smogged up around here. What's more, snapped the Lorax, his dander was up. Let me say a few words, gulpity glup. Your machinery clugs on day and night without stop, making gluppity glup, that shaloppity shlop. And what do you do with this leftover goo? I'll show you, you dirty old Onceler man, you. You're glumping the pond where the hummering fish hummed. No more can they hum, for their gills are all gummed. So I'll send them off, Oh, their future is dreary. They'll walk on their fins and get woefully weary in search of some water that isn't so smeary. So now the bears are gone, the swans are gone, the fish are gone. Everybody is having to leave because the Onceler is cutting down all the trees and polluting the pond and the air. And then I got mad. I got terribly mad. I yelled at the Lorax. Now listen here, Dad. All you do is yappity yap and say bad, 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 bad. Well, I have my rights, sir, and I'm telling you, I intend to go on doing just what I do. And for your information, you Lorax, I'm figuring on biggering, and biggering, turning more truffula trees into thneeds, which everyone needs. So despite the protests from the Lorax, the Onceler is determined not to stop, but to get bigger and bigger. He's more greedy and greedy than ever before. And at that very moment, we heard a loud whack. From outside in the fields came a sickening smack of an axe on a tree. Then we heard the tree fall, the very last truffula tree of them all. No more trees, no more needs, no more work to be done. So in no time, my uncles and aunts, everyone, all waved me goodbye. They jumped into my cars and drove away under the smoke smuggled stars. And now all that was left beneath this bad smelling sky was my big empty factory, the Lorax and I. Once the last tree was cut down, the factory stood empty. The sky was still filled with smog. The water was still polluted. And the only one left was the Lorax and the Onceler. The Lorax said nothing, just gave me a glance, just gave me a very sad backward glance as he lifted himself by the seat of his pants. And I'll never forget the grin look on his face when he hoisted himself and took leave of this place through a hole in the smog without leaving a trace. Now even the Lorax left, and the Onceler is all by himself. And all that the Lorax left here in this mess was a small pile of rocks with the one word, unless. Whatever that meant, well, I just couldn't guess. That was long, long ago. But each day since that day, I've sat here and worried away through the years while my buildings have fallen apart. I'd worried about it with all of my heart. But now, says the Onceler, now that you're here, the word of the Lorax seems perfectly clear. Unless someone like you cares a whole awful lot, nothing is going to get better. It's not. So catch, calls the Onceler. He lets something fall. It's a truffula seed. It's the last one of all. You're in charge of the last of the truffula seeds, and the truffula trees are what everyone needs. Plant a new truffula, treat it with care, give it clean water, and feed it fresh air. Grow a forest, protect it from axes that hack. Then the Lorax of all of his friends may come back. That's the end of the story of the Lorax. The Onceler hopes that the seed that he shares will plant a new forest that will thrive and bring truffula trees and bears back and swans back and fish back and produce fruit and shade and clean air. The story of the Lorax reminds us that we have a responsibility. God gives us the responsibility to take care of this beautiful world that God created. We are the caretakers of the world. And if we cut down all the trees, if we pollute the air, if we pollute all the water, there won't be clean air to breathe. There won't be trees to produce fruit. There won't be clean water to drink. We must be careful that we don't become too greedy like the Onceler and ruin the beautiful creation that God has given us to protect. May it be so. Thanks be to God. Thanks, Dr. Seuss, for this wonderful reminder of our biblical responsibility to be caretakers of God's creation. Happy birthday, Dr. Seuss. Thank you for this wonderful story, the Lorax that reminds us that we are to be stewards and to care for God's creation, the plants, the trees, the water, the animals, the air. Till next time, stay well and be safe and healthy. Peace, blessings, love, and prayers. And we'll see you again soon with another episode of Storytime. Bye-bye.